So Nebraska will welcome a visitor on campus Thursday, but this is not for the 2025 or even 26 class. This is the transfer portal, which is always a thing. No matter when you think you might be finalized with your roster, there's always maybe a prospect or two that comes up on the radar. And this particular one, as we were talking a little bit about back in hour number one, Sierra writes, is scheduled for an official visit today. Will be in Lincoln from today through Saturday. 6 foot, 180-pound Sayer Wright. He's got 2 years of eligibility remaining. He's played 23 games for USC. He used his 4-game redshirt in 2021. He did start 11 games, first 11 games in 2022 at corner. And then, as we were telling you, he has appeared not only in Space Jam 2 as LeBron James' son, but he's also been in the comedy Grownish. He stepped away in 2023 to pursue his acting career. And now he is back in the mix, wants to get back into football, maybe still with an eye on acting. He had 41 career tackles at USC. He had 6 pass breakups. He had an interception. And if you're into this type of thing, which I know some of you are, some of you aren't, if you wanted to know how he got to USC, well, he was a top 100 player, according to Rivals and On3. He was in his class of 2021, and he was a consensus 4-star out of California. He was the number 5 overall high school player in the state of California. So he does have college experience. He did take a year off, and now he's looking to get back into it. So it's interesting that, okay, not your typical background when it comes to a player out of the transfer portal. Like, we always ask this question. All right, do we have red flag alert on certain players that are in the transfer portal and are looking for a different landing spot? And it's always fair to say, okay, how many times have they left the school? Do they seem disgruntled? Is there a character issue? Is there
He's played several characters.
A team issue? Yeah, you could say character issue. Well,
he has full range.
Is he a character actor?
Yeah.
Is he
a method actor?
Is he a method actor? Yes, there's all that. But when it comes to
I am LeBron James,
a guy that this one to me is complicated because, I mean, do we know? Is he still actively pursuing roles? Did he try to give this a shot in 23?
Nebraska has actors they could introduce him to. They could talk to him. Actors and actresses.
Yeah, that is true.
Good ones.
Yeah, that's also very, very true. Not all Nebraska alum, but from the state of Nebraska. Yeah. That was my first question. Is like, okay, so is he if he gets, say, the role of his life and he's set to start against Iowa, like, I'm sorry, we start shooting this week.
Scorsese.
Yeah, it's Scorsese. Come on.
That was great. We have Vince Chase on our team, and he just splits to go do Aquaman.
And Matt Rule be like, well, I get it. It is Scorsese.
It's
so, all right, you go ahead and do you, man.
I hope they're going to be a part for me and just let Garrett coach the team.
So this became a thing with Lincoln Riley when he had Wright on the roster, and he addressed the situation back in 2022. This is a quote from Lincoln Riley. He said, I mean, the fact that it's acting, yes, but we've also had guys that have had other interests or other things going on in their lives. Like I compare to having a guy play baseball and football, like we did with Kyler and talking about Kyler Murray and some of the other guys. To me, that's even more of a challenge. At least what he's doing is not physically demanding. So it's just finding a little time in the schedule. And I will give the kid credit. He's clearly done a good job, because he's a much better player right now than he was in the spring. So he made some nice improvements throughout the summer. But then by November 14th of 2023, he was no longer with the team. So it's an interesting dynamic there, that if this is still maybe a passion of yours, that you're always going to keep an eye out for potential roles or what you might be looking to do when it does come to the acting world. But I think Lincoln Riley brings up a good point. it's not like, unless he's trying to become a stunt double, unless we're going to see like the creation of the fall guy, he's going to be a stunt double or something.
Willie Mays Hayes in?
White
Black Hammer, White Lightning.
White Lightning, Black Hammer. Yeah. Together, they're taking on the mob. He's not doing it as long as he's not doing his own stunts. I mean, he's right. There's not like a physical demand compared to two-way players. I mentioned how Matt Rule is open to letting his guys explore different avenues. I mean, Nash Hutmacher is putting his body in harm far more than what a guy like Sayre Wright would be with acting, right? And I do think you do have a coaching staff that is probably a lot more open-minded about that, as long, and that's the big one, as long as you know why you are at that university. You are there to help them be better. And it brings up a bigger question about the position itself at corner with the injury to Bly Hill in the spring. Now, remember, Bly Hill, when we watched that injury and the spring game, thinking, oh, no, this guy was trending to be starting alongside Tommy Hill, that now all of a sudden you've got a guy who looks like he's going to be out for the year. Well, the good news was that Bly Hill, it doesn't appear that he's going to miss the entire season. But what seems inevitable is he's going to miss time early in the season. So what you're trying to figure out is, is Malcolm Hartzog going to have now more of a role at corner? Or is they're still able to find somebody that can play that position to where you can put Malcolm Hartzog in what seemingly is his most impactful position, and that is playing safety. So what it also tells you is Nebraska is continuing to look at the cornerback market when it comes to the transfer portal. And I don't think, first of all, I don't think it's indicative of the guys that they currently have there, but it's unproven. Just like a guy who missed an entire year of college football, there would be some slight question as far as, okay, I get it, he was a starter for the first 11 games of 2022, but that was 2022. Is there going to be a learning curve when it comes to everything that he's going to have to be reacquainted with? I don't know. I don't know what his workouts look like. I don't know what he was doing when he was away other than pursuing acting jobs. But I think the bigger part about this development is you're looking at that position for a defense for Nebraska that returns a solid group up front. Little bit more question marks at linebacker, although you still do have some guys that you feel like Mekhi Bear. Whether we're talking about edge guys, we're talking about interior linebackers. If you're looking at a guy like Bullock, a guy like Buda Wright, you've got at least some guys there. Replacing Nick Henrich and Reimer is obviously a big deal, but there's at least guys there with more experience. If you start to look at the corner position, yeah, it's a little bit more in flux, because right now you would say if there's one defensive back out of the entire group that you know what you're going to get out of and you feel very confident what they're going to be able to do, that would be Isaac Gifford. All right, we know that part. But as far as the corners, other than Tommy Hill, and we've seen Malcolm Hartzog, when it comes to who you can truly trust at corner, there's a lot of potential, but all those guys are either inexperienced, extremely young, and this fall is going to be big for them, or they haven't been able to get on the field consistently. And does that necessarily put you in a position of, okay, well, I'm going to ignore the fact that they haven't been able to put them in a position to be on the field, but now that they're needed, I can start fully trusting them. So I think more than anything, it just shows you that Nebraska is trying to kick the tires and try to do everything they can to provide depth and give themselves options opposite of Tommy Hill when it comes to corner. So that is I thought that was an interesting development just from the standpoint of where Nebraska is when it comes to their secondary, mainly the corner position. Because I think it's safety between what they currently have. And again, Malcolm Hartzog's use will be very interesting. Remember, Deshaun Singleton, who got injured at the end of the year. Deshaun Singleton is another stud when he's back and he's ready to play. I mean, you feel good about where you are safety-wise. Then you've got young talent coming in, a guy like Caleb Benning and others that are coming in playing that position. are going to have a chance to really impact here going forward. It is that corner position that there are bodies there, but they're unproven, they're inexperienced. So whether Sierra Wright is the answer to that, it just more than anything, whether it's him or another corner that they might be pursuing out of the transfer portal, it shows you that they are still trying to address that need, especially with the injury to Bly Hill. When we return, NCAA, not football this time. Not talking football and reform or anything. Talking college basketball. It's time for what I always feel like, Jimmy, is the annual conversation of how we can mess with March Madness. And we'll tell you the latest edition of the attempt to mess with March Madness by the NCAA.